Hello, and welcome to Ending Physician Overwhelm. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Mello. I'm a family and obesity medicine physician, as well as a certified life coach for physicians. In this podcast, we talk about how the learned habits of people-pleasing, perfectionism, and a lack of boundaries show up in our lives and how they contribute to burnout, exhaustion, and overwhelm. The healthcare system is broken, my friends, but let's not wait for it to be fixed in order to feel better. Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 96, the last episode that I'm recording in 2023. It has been almost 2 years of the podcast. I may have mentioned that before. And again, I'm just thrilled to be here and excited to be sharing thoughts with you, especially as we bring this year to a close. So today we're going to be talking about thoughts that I'm choosing to let go of as we end 2023. So we come to the end of the year. It's a dangerous time for perfectionists, right? We tend to look back at all the things that we didn't get done, all the flaws we have, all the things that we want to be better, and often looking forward to whatever the new thing is, right? The new year, the new month, the new week, even sometimes the new day, right? Mondays are a similar trigger for us as is the new year, often with thoughts of how are we going to magically be better, right? With the implication underlying that right now we're not good enough, because that really is at the heart of the problem with perfectionism, is that perfectionism isn't this benign circumstance where we're just striving to be better. Perfectionism is a toxic habit where we have an underlying sense of not being good enough, right? Where we have a sense of shame that if they only knew how messy it was inside my brain, then nobody would respect me. No one would see me as worthy. That inherent lack of worth is really the problem. And so today I'm going to share 10 thoughts that I'm working on letting go of, because I think that for many of us, these thoughts will resonate and these thoughts will sort of bring out different sides of the same coin. So here we go. Number 1, the universe owes me. Now with this one, I often had the sense that my sacrifice, my being willing to people please and put others' needs above my own, that there was some kind of tally going on, counting up all of my good deeds. Sometimes I thought that my family would be doing this. Sometimes I thought that my employer would be doing this, right? That if I was around during the holidays and took extra shifts so people could go on vacation, if I agreed to cover someone's OB call, if I was the one who brought treats to the party, whatever those things were, that I was earning brownie points that would somehow later benefit me. And it's not to say that we might not be building up goodwill, but no one is keeping track of those things except for you. So if you find yourself constantly sacrificing, believing that others are keeping score and eventually you get to come out with the winning chips, I would like you to let go of this thought this year. And I would like you to start taking care of yourself, start setting some boundaries, start saying no when you need to say no. Number 2, I should have had this figured out by now. And this is a thought that comes up all the time when I'm coaching physician clients. There is this sense that because we are highly trained, high achieving, highly skilled people, that we should have figured out our emotional resilience, that we should be master parents, right? That we should know everything that comes through the door. As a primary care person, right? Someone who was kind of right up front, seeing undifferentiated concerns and diseases and weird things on people. I know very clearly that I do not have it all figured out. That's okay. But there are so many elements of life that people think that they should be further along than they are. Let's just look at this in a different light, right? We have put so much work into becoming this version of ourselves, into becoming physicians, into becoming caregivers, into becoming parents, if that's your journey, right? So many of these things, we have put so much effort in, but that has come at the cost of other things. We may struggle with relationships. We may not be able to figure out our taxes. There may be a lot of areas that we don't have skill in, and that's okay. We shouldn't feel the need that we should know how to do everything. Not possible for one person to have all of that knowledge, all of that skill. So let's let it go when we have the thought, I should have figured this out, or I should be able to figure this out. Thought number 3, I can't change. Now, this defeating thought often comes around when we are trying to do something for ourselves, right? When we are trying to change a health habit. Perhaps, again, like we are trying to start an exercise habit or a reading habit, or we're trying to get our notes done more quickly. When we hit a snag, and often that snag is going to be some kind of friction, such as stress or relationship challenge or something like that. When we hit that snag, it is harder to maintain that new thing, because whatever our default pattern is, let's say not exercising is our default, that is easier to revert to when we hit a snag, right? When we are sick, when we go on vacation, when we've had a really busy, stressful day, when something unexpected happened, it's much easier to revert to those automatic habits than to remember that we are setting a new habit, right? Habit change is more difficult than reverting to whatever we've done before. But this thought that I can't change is not helpful, because you have changed tremendously over the course of your life. If you're here and you're listening, then chances are highly likely that you're a caring professional, whether you're a physician or not. You have evolved tremendously from being a child, a high school student, a college student, in medical school, in residency training. Perhaps, again, you've become a parent. Perhaps you've become a partner. Perhaps you're a surgeon. Perhaps you're an oncologist. Perhaps you're a primary care person. Perhaps you've developed extra skills along the way. You have changed tremendously. I'll invite you to consider that maybe what is going on right now is that you've got a change that you want to make, but you are only accountable to yourself. And if you've got a people-pleasing streak in you, as I do, being accountable only to yourself tends to fall off much more easily than something that you're accountable to somebody else for, right? That is one of the areas where coaching comes in tremendously helpful, right? Because you can learn to gain accountability for yourself over time, but still have the support of somebody who is there in the stands for you, rooting for you, helping to support you, helping to overcome obstacles, right? Let's let go of this thought that I can't change. You have changed. You are changing all the time. You can do this. You might just need some support. Number 4, slightly different version here. I have to do things this way. So this can sound very similar to thought number 3, or I can't change. But this one has a little bit of a different feel to it, because often when we have this perfectionist tendency, we have decided that there is a right way to do things, and there is definitely probably infinite wrong ways to do things. And when you stop and think about it in one area of your life. Notes comes up a lot for this, right? Your clinical notes. Because probably somewhere along the way, if you are someone who currently writes long notes and really struggles to get your work done, somewhere along the way, you were probably praised for writing a beautiful, elaborate, thought-provoking note with an expertly settled out differential and a very detailed plan. You write these beautiful, excellent notes, and you've decided that that is the right way to write notes because you've been praised. Perhaps your billers have told you that it's so easy to code for your visits. Perhaps in attending along the way, perhaps your colleagues love covering for you, right? Because they see these notes. But that has determined in your brain that you always have to spend that amount of time, that you always have to put that amount of detail in, which is probably not very functional when you are out in the world, right? Practicing medicine, having to see a certain volume of people. You can't write a detailed essay on everybody. There's just not time. It's just not really moving the needle. So you can see if we have this thought, though, that there's one right way to do it because of that perfectionist tendency, right? That shame avoidance, then we're going to stay stuck. There are many right ways to do things. There are ways that work better for you than others. Of course, will be ways that will be better for billing, for example, with note writing. But that doesn't mean there's only one right way. And that doesn't mean that the hardest way is the right way, even if you've received praise for that in the past. Number 5, everyone else seems to be fine. What's wrong with me? Ouch, right? This one also comes up a lot in the physicians that I talk to. It comes in different flavors. Sometimes people will tell me that they are just so much more anxious than their colleagues, right? That they just have tremendous anxiety. And because of their tremendous anxiety, it makes everything so much harder. And I believe you. I believe that you have tremendous anxiety. Our jobs literally breed hypervigilance into us. That is part of our training. And it is something that continues, especially right now in this era where most of us are understaffed, right? We have inadequate team support to be able to be monitoring for mistakes, making sure that things don't fall through the cracks. That breeds more and more anxiety and hypervigilance because it is on our shoulders, right? We are the highest level of responsibility for our patients. It falls to us. We are the ones who get sued if there's a malpractice suit or some kind of a mistake. We are the name that it's attached to the chart. There are many reasons why this is true, that we might think that we have an excessive amount of anxiety compared to others. But we also have to realize that we are also very good at masking it and keeping it from other people. So you might think that you're the only person in the group who is experiencing this tremendous anxiety. I promise you that you're not. I promise you that there's nothing wrong with you, that your path has heightened this tendency in you, that there are ways to help decrease your hypervigilance, decrease your anxiety without providing bad care. But I also invite you to see that everyone else is not fine and hunky-dory and super happy with the way things are going. I have yet to find very many physicians. There are some out there who don't consider themselves to be quite anxious. I know that they're out there. They are not the ones that I tend to talk to a lot because they're not seeking me out. But just know that your anxiety is on par with the anxiety of other people. You are not broken. Our system is broken. Our training breeds this in us. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not flawed. A client recently told me that she felt like she was a square peg trying to fit into the round hole, right? She felt like she had a tremendous amount of anxiety and that didn't really fit with kind of the work of being a doctor, that she had more anxiety than her colleagues. But I pushed it even a bit further. She feels like a square peg trying to fit in a round hole, but really the round hole is a triangle, right? Because the way that our systems run often wants us to be endlessly happy without boundaries, always happy to see as many people who show up, always happy to achieve a high level customer service, never have emotions, never need to go to the bathroom, never need to stop and have a coffee break. What's that? Right? We are humans who have learned how to pretend to not be human. And we are trying to operate in a system that very conveniently doesn't want us to be human, right? You can see how that's a full setup. Anyway, the thought, everyone else seems fine, what's wrong with me, has got to go. You are not the problem. Our system, our training, there's a lot of elements there. You are not broken. Number 6, things should be better. Now, I am not saying that I don't want things to be better. I do want things to be better. I do want our insurance system to be better. I do want our clinics to run with high functioning teams. I do want high quality care and low volume of mistakes. I do want those things to be better. But if I constantly have the thought, things should be better, that my schedule should be easier, that somebody should do my notes for me, if I'm constantly thinking that things ought to be different than how they are, I'm not living in reality. And if I'm not living in reality, then I'm probably not adjusting, making changes, making tweaks, figuring out where my boundaries are. I'm sitting there grumbling and feeling frustrated and resentful that things aren't better. I'm feeling a sense of futility, which is a key part of burnout, right? That nothing that I do matters because things should be better and they're not. We don't have to condone the way things are going. We don't have to not participate in helping things to be better, but keeping the thought that things ought to be better and they're not isn't really helpful. It doesn't really serve us, right? When you think things should be better, what is the feeling that you have? It's not usually one of action. It's usually one of resentment, frustration, feeling like there's no point. Let's let that go. All right. Number 7, achievements will fix my sense of self-worth or my lack of self-worth. In other words, the more I do, the better I should feel about myself. In other words, when I don't achieve something, it's proof that I'm inadequate. So a lot of different nuances to this one, but we have been high achievers and most of us have received praise specifically for having done many things, right? For having achieved many things, for having degrees and board certifications and whatever else you've got on your CV, right? It's all been about the achievements. And if you start comparing your achievements to other people's achievements and you're tying this all in with your self-worth, right? You're tying that in with your value as a person, you will constantly feel inadequate, right? Because you can always find someone who's done more. And it also generally means that anybody who's done less than you will also be devalued. That's not a helpful place to live. Why don't we choose to believe that we are innately worthwhile as human beings, that our self-worth doesn't have anything to do with our achievements, with our income, with the things that we've accomplished, about how serious we are as physicians or surgeons, kind of like how skilled the conditions are that we address. No, let's take all of that out, right? Yes, some of us are neurosurgeons, which is a highly complex, detailed skill level. But some of us need to do the pap smear. Some of us need to treat the diabetes. Some of us need to stitch things back together. There is a need for all of us. And my self-worth doesn't have to be less because someone else has a higher technical skill than I do. My self-worth is innate. When I believe that, I can still choose to go out and do things. I still choose to go out and achieve and learn and grow and do, but I'm not doing it from a place of trying to hustle and create my self-worth. Do you see the difference there? Many of us are struggling with this. And unfortunately, there's this cottage industry that has developed around secondary board certification. And I'm totally guilty of this one, right? I totally went out and got a second board certification as well as a bunch of other titles behind my name because all of the achievements that I've had over the last 10 or so years, I was trying to feel better about who I was. That doesn't work because we need to believe that our self-worth is innate. We need to believe that we have value no matter what we do. Because if we always tie it to what we do and what we achieve, we will constantly be suffering from comparison. And we will constantly be feeling not good enough because we will always see other things out there that we have not done. There is finite time. There is finite energy. There is finite amount of time that we want to devote to achieving. We are worthy as we are. So let's let go of this idea that we need to achieve something in order to prove our self-worth. Thought number 8, people like me don't get to have help. Now, this also comes up a lot. And the reason that it comes up is that we are often the helpers. We are the problem solvers. It may be that we've asked for help in the past and we have not received it. It may be that we haven't asked, that we have just assumed that other people would understand that we needed or wanted help. It may be that people have tried to help us and we've said, no, or we've made it too hard, or we've said, no, it has to be done my way. It may be that there has been no one to ask. All of these different scenarios have been true, but it's often reinforced this belief that people like me can't get help, right? And sometimes that might be people like me can't ask for help. In my previous clinic, our male providers would have chaperones for pap smears, which meant they had extra hands going on, or they had a chaperone for an IUD insertion or for certain procedures. I never had that. And part of that is because I'm a woman, but also it just normalized that the women physicians did not get helpers for procedures. That leaves us with this sense that we are not worthy of having help. And situations like that happen all the time, right? And it can be related to gender. It can be related to a host of other factors, right? It can be related to being an oldest child or any other number of things. But we've often come to believe that we are not able to receive help. And we actually may struggle to receive help when it is offered or when it is truly necessary. And that gets tied in with the other thoughts of like, I should have figured this out by now. I should be able to do things on my own. I have to do it this way. There's a lot that's mixed up in with this one. We all need help some of the time. We all deserve to have help. If we are wanting to be the most effective at our job, not the most efficient, right? But the most effective, able to do the right work, able to do right work for us that helps others, not necessarily to do as much work as possible, as fast as possible. There's a big difference there between efficient and effective. We want to be effective. We want to do the right work and do it well. But if I believe that I am not worthy of help, or that I can't have help, or that my help isn't good enough, right? That I can't coach people, that I can't choose to let go of some things, then I'm never going to be as effective as I could be, right? I'm never going to have that kind of team dynamic, whether that's at home or at work. None of us can do it all. We all need teams around us, right? We all need help and support to be as effective as possible and to be able to enjoy this life. Thought number 9, I'm not allowed to have boundaries because every time I try, someone gets upset. If you've listened to the show for a hot second, this is one that we talk about a lot. Setting and maintaining boundaries, especially if you're a people pleaser, especially if you are not used to having boundaries, is uncomfortable work. And it's uncomfortable because 1, you have to decide what the boundary is. 2, you often need to state that out loud to other humans or set it up in some way. 3, you need to wrestle with other people being upset or disappointed that you are not continuing to not have boundaries. Other people have benefited from you not having boundaries. They want you to continue to not have boundaries, not usually in a malicious way, but just because it makes their lives easier. So when you decide to set boundaries, when you decide to say, no, we won't have time to do a good job with that today, that's going to need to wait until next time. When you say, no, we aren't going to have an extra cookie tonight, that's not okay. We've had our limit for today. I don't know what that would be. When we say no, we are confronting other people's emotions and we have felt responsible for those other people's emotions most of the time. This will be uncomfortable for us. And we're going to need to learn how to handle that, learn how to be okay with other people's discomfort if we want to have boundaries. But we cannot see other people's discomfort or our discomfort as a sign that we are not allowed to have boundaries. We can see it as a sign that we are making a change and that change is surprising to people or disappointing people or other people thought that we would take a different path. It is, those are all true things. But it's not about you not being allowed to have boundaries. Again, that's a thought we need to put down. You are allowed to have boundaries. It is going to be uncomfortable. It is going to change your relationship with other people. not usually going to destroy it unless it was already not a good relationship, right? If somebody has been taking advantage of you, if somebody has always been getting their way, if you've never said no to somebody and they're always the beneficiary of you not saying no, and you start saying no, things will change. They have an opportunity to grow. They have an opportunity to learn to sit with their own uncomfortable or negative emotions. They have an opportunity to reflect on the relationship and what their part in it is. You don't control those things. You are allowed to have boundaries. Boundaries are necessary in order to be a kind and compassionate and effective person in this world. That's just the truth. So let's let go of this idea that other people's displeasure at us setting boundaries, that our discomfort with other people's emotions are a sign that we shouldn't have boundaries. Thought number 10. Now, of course, we're hitting the end of the year, right? And as I mentioned at the beginning, we're about to start a new year, which is a perfectionist kind of trigger for many of us. And that's where thought 10 comes from. Next year will be better. Next year will be different. Will be different. We're constantly changing. We're constantly growing. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly striking up against challenges, right? If we are intentional, we may be making really good efforts there. And so some of those things will be better. We will have some good circumstances come to us, right? We may get lucky. We may have a vacation that we love. We may have food that we really love. We may find an exercise regimen that we really love and we feel good and we feel healthy. But that's not because the calendar has flipped from 2023 to 2024. Let's let go of this magical thinking that New Year's does anything, right? We feel exactly the same in 2024 as we do in 2023. The change of the year doesn't do it. If you want to decide to work on a new habit, if you want to decide to change your thoughts and evolve and gain some comfort with difficult emotions and make progress, that is powerful, but it doesn't automatically make the next year 100% better. It doesn't mean that you won't have negative emotions. It doesn't mean that everything is automatically better. It just means that the year has changed. We will always have difficult circumstances. People will get sick. People will get cancer. Traffic accidents will happen, right? Wars will happen. All of these things will still happen. And we'll also experience joy. And if we're practicing gratitude, we get to experience more joy, right? If we're practicing setting intentions and learning how to grow our boundaries and maintain them, if we are learning all these things, we can choose to have a better experience of things. We can choose to be evolving with intention and grace and humility. We can learn to have more self-compassion for the journey and start to measure ourselves in terms of the successes along the way that help to fuel the big things. But just the flipping of the year, just hoping that things will be better, isn't it? That's not going to do it. So let's put down this idea that next year will be better. Instead, let's have a thought along the lines of, I'm growing myself this year. I'm continuing to evolve. I'm going to set some intentions. I'm going to get the help and support that I need to grow and to turn myself into somebody who I look forward to being, not because I'm inadequate, not because I'm unworthy right now, but just because I have desires, I have wants, I have things that I am curious and interested in evolving into. I have a picture of what my future looks like, and I'm going to cultivate it with intention and clarity and purpose. It's not about the year. It's about deciding that you have something else that you want to do, believing in your own worthiness now, learning to see the milestones along the way. All of these things are wonderful, powerful intentions that I hope that you'll bring with you as it does turn from December 31st, 2023 into January 1st, 2024. But remember, there is no magic in that calendar flipping over. The magic is in your intentionality. The magic is in deciding for yourself that you want to grow and evolve, and deciding how that's going to look, what obstacles are going to come up, and how will you be prepared for them? How will you tackle things that you aren't prepared for? How will you choose to continue to set your sights high and reward and celebrate yourself along the way? These are the things that I want for you. These are the things that I want for myself. These are the things that I'm working on for myself. These are the things that I get coached on. And I hope that you will choose to decide for yourself, what are you going to let go of? What are you going to move towards? What do you want for yourself moving into this new year? Not from a place of lack, just because you want it. That felt cleansing. I'm going to run through the list again of the top 10 thoughts that I'm letting go of in 2023. Number 1, the universe owes me. Number 2, I should have this figured out by now. Number 3, I can't change. Number 4, I have to do things this way. Number 5, everyone else seems fine. What's wrong with me? Number 6, things should be better. Number 7, achievements fix my lack of self-worth. Number 8, people like me don't get to have help. Number 9, I'm not allowed to have boundaries. Every time I try, people get upset. And number 10, next year will be better. What are you letting go of in 2023 as we move into the new year? You don't need to set a resolution, but set an intention. What would you like? What are you willing to work for? What are you ready to let go of? My friends, I hope you will sit down. I hope that you will dedicate a little bit of time in your day to looking at this. It doesn't really matter if you do this as the year changes over. It doesn't matter if you do this in the middle of the June. It doesn't matter if you do this today or tomorrow. What matters is that you choose to do it. What matters is that you make an intention, that you are worth it, and you're ready to get going. For those of you who are listening to this in real time, my group program, Healing Perfectionism in Women Physicians, which runs about 3 times per year, is open now for enrollment. January 7th, 2024 is our start date. In this program, we do this work. We do this work together in community with women physicians. This is intentionally a small group program, so it's quite intimate. It's a chance for us to look at what's getting in our way, to decide what it is that we want more of, to see the obstacles for what they are, to let go of these unhelpful thoughts and make progress together with self-compassion, with community, with connection. Please consider doing this for yourself. Please sign up and let's get going. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Have a wonderful New Year's if you're listening to this in real time. I can't wait for 2024. Not because it's magically going to be better on the end either, but just because I am setting intentions, just because I'm always growing. I'm working on celebrating my wins as I go, and I hope that you'll choose to do the same. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and until next time, take care. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you as always for listening. To learn more about my coaching programs, head to www.healthierforgood.com. And if you love this podcast, please drop us a review on iTunes or support the show by clicking the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care.